English Edge podcast.
From the English Clarity Lab.
Hello, and welcome back to the English Clarity Lab. I'm Mary, and today we're tackling a situation that is, well, it's the definition of socially radioactive. It's that moment when the air leaves the room because a friend or someone you know asks you for money.
Oh, boy. Mary, just hearing you say that makes my palms sweat. It's the worst, right? You want to be a good person, but you also don't want to, lose your rent money or even worse, lose the friendship because things get weird.
Exactly, James. And for our B1 and B2 learners, this is a double-edged sword. You're not just managing the financial boundary, you're searching for the right linguistic register. If you're too blunt, you sound cold. If you're too vague, the person might keep pushing because they think you're just on the fence.
On the fence. That's a good one. Like, I'm undecided?
Precisely. If you say, "Oh, I'm not sure I can right now," a persistent person hears, "Ask me again in 10 minutes." Today, we're going to look at a very specific, very awkward scenario to see how we can use the polite refusal without breaking the social bond.
I'm ready. What's the setup? Are we in a coffee shop, a bank?
Neither. We are in a community potting shed. It's the annual heritage seed swap. Imagine it. It's humid, it's crowded, and you are literally elbow deep in wet soil transplanting tomato seedlings with your neighbor Sarah. You like Sarah. You talk about compost and weather, but you aren't inner circle friends.
Okay, I can see it. I've got dirt under my fingernails. I'm stuck. I can't even run away because my plants are mid-transfer.
Exactly. You are put on the spot. And then Sarah says it. "My car battery just died in the lot. It's $200 and my card is being declined. Could you possibly lend me the cash? I'll pay you back on Friday, I promise."
Ouch, that's heavy, especially when you're standing right there. What do? My first instinct in English is usually just to say, "I'm sorry, I can't," but that feels so short.
It is short. In English-speaking cultures, especially in professional or casual acquaintance circles, we often use a buffer, reason, boundary structure. We don't just say no. We wrap the no in a way that protects the other person's feelings and your own.
Buffer, reason, boundary. Okay, break that down for me.
Let's start with the buffer. This is a phrase that shows you've heard the request and you sympathize, but you aren't saying yes. Phrases like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about the car," or "That sounds like a really stressful morning." You're acknowledging her problem first.
Right, so I'm not a robot. I'm a human. Man, Sarah, car trouble is the absolute worst.
Perfect. Now, the reason. Here is where many learners make a mistake. They try to explain why they don't have the money. "Oh, I have to pay my electricity bill and my cat needs surgery."
Wait, is that bad? I thought being honest helped.
It's a trap, James. If you give a specific reason, you invite the other person to solve your problem so they can get the money. If you say, "I'm strapped for cash because of my cat," Sarah might say, "Oh, but this is just for 3 days. Surely you can wait 3 days for the cat."
Aha, so I've opened a negotiation. I don't want a negotiation. I want a finish line.
Exactly. So instead of a specific reason, we use a hard and fast rule. This is a personal policy. It sounds like this. "I actually have a hard and fast rule about not mixing money with friendships." Or, "I've made it a policy to keep my finances and my social life completely separate."
Ooh, that's strong. It's not about her car. It's about my rule. It's not personal.
Exactly. It shifts the blame from the friendship to the policy. It's much harder for someone to argue with your personal life rules than with your bank balance.
Okay, let me try that. "Sarah, I'm so sorry about the car. That's a total nightmare. But honestly, I have a personal rule about not lending money to friends or neighbors. I found it just keeps things simpler for everyone." How is that?
That was excellent. You used the buffer, sorry about the car, and the reason boundary, personal rule. You sounded firm but kind. But James, what if she pushes? What if she says, "But we've been neighbors for years. You can trust me"?
Then I start sweating again?
No. Then we use the broken record technique combined with the helpful pivot. You repeat your boundary, but you offer a different kind of help, something that doesn't involve your wallet.
Like, I can't give you money, but I can give you a ride to the mechanic.
Exactly. It shows you still care about the neighbor part of the relationship. You could say, I really can't break my rule about the loan, but I'd be happy to help you call a tow truck, or you can use my phone if you need to reach your bank.
That feels much more balanced. I'm drawing a line in the sand, but I'm still being a good neighbor.
Let's look at the vocabulary we use there. You mentioned being strapped for cash earlier. That's a very common, very natural way to say you don't have extra money right now. It's a B2 level slang. It sounds much more natural than saying, I am currently experiencing a lack of liquid assets.
Yeah, don't say that in a potting shed. You'll sound like a textbook.
And setting a precedent. This is why the hard and fast rule is so important. If you lend Sarah $200 today, you are setting a precedent. Next month, she might ask for $500, or another neighbor might hear about it and ask you too. By saying no the first time, you avoid setting a precedent that you are the neighborhood bank.
That makes total sense. It's about long-term peace of mind.
Let's practice a few more pivot phrases. These are the golds for B1 learners who want to sound sophisticated. Instead of no, try these. I'm not in a position to do that right now. That's not something I'm comfortable with, but I'd love to help in another way. I've had bad experiences with loans in the past, so I've decided to stop doing them altogether.
I'm not in a position to do that right now. That sounds very professional, like it's just a fact of my life right now.
It is. It's a closed statement. It doesn't invite more questions. Now, James, let's talk about the psychology of the pause.
The pause, like waiting before I speak?
Yes, when someone puts you on the spot, our instinct is to fill the silence immediately. We say yes just to stop the awkwardness.
I do that all the time. I say sure, and then 5 seconds later I think, wait, why did I say that? I don't want to do that.
Exactly. To be a clear, confident English speaker, you must learn to own the silence. When Sarah asks you for the $200, take a breath, count to 2, look her in the eye. This shows that you are considering her request seriously, which is respectful. Then deliver your buffer, rule, pivot.
So don't rush. Take a second. Sarah, I'm so sorry about the car, but honestly, I have a rule about not lending money to friends or neighbors. It feels more intentional.
Exactly. It shows you aren't reacting out of fear. You're responding out of clarity.
Okay, Mary, I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, but let's look at that specific phrase you mentioned. I'm not in a position to do that. To a learner, that sounds almost formal, like I'm a CEO or something. Does it work in a potting shed while I'm covered in dirt?
It's actually perfect for the potting shed because it's a bit firm. This goes back to our study of social hierarchies and professional diplomacy. When you use a phrase like, I'm not in a position, you are essentially signaling that your financial decisions are managed by a higher logic, your budget, your rules, or your family obligations. It's a very polite way of saying, the answer is no, and the reasons are private.
So it's like, I'm not saying I'm poor and I'm not saying I don't trust you. I'm just saying the business of James isn't giving out loans today.
Exactly. It prevents the other person from trying to fix your situation. If you say, I'm strapped for cash, Sarah might think, oh, he's just broke today. I'll ask again on payday. But I'm not in a position implies a permanent boundary. Now, let's talk about the guilt trip. James, what if Sarah says, but James, I thought we were friends. I've helped you with your aphids for months.
Oh man, the aphid guilt trip, that's low. I mean, honestly, that's when I usually cave. I'd probably just hand over the $200 just to make the feeling go away.
And that is exactly where the broken record technique comes in. This is a core part of the communication strategies we develop here at the English Clarity Lab. You don't need new reasons. You just need to repeat your hard and fast rule.
Okay, so she says the thing about the aphids. I say, Sarah, I really appreciate the help with the garden. I do. But like I said, I have a personal policy about not mixing money in neighbors. It's just how I keep my life stress-free.
Perfect. You acknowledged her help, that's your buffer, and you return to your boundary. Notice you didn't apologize for the rule. You didn't say, I'm sorry my rule is annoying. You just stated it as a fact of your life.
It feels a bit like drawing a line in the sand. Like once I say it, I can't move it.
Precisely. And that's why we call it a protocol. In our thousands protocol, we look for these specific micro-conflicts because they are where most learners lose their confidence. They know the grammar of no, but they don't know the social weight of it.
Right, because in my head, I'm thinking, is Sarah going to hate me? Am I going to have to find a new garden plot?
And that brings us to the exit strategy. You're both still in the shed, the air is a bit heavy, you've said no, now you need to normalize the conversation again. You have to show her that the relationship isn't broken just because the answer was no.
How do I do that without it being super awkward? Do I just start talking about, I don't know, kale?
Actually, yes. Or you use a pivot to task. You can say, anyway, let's get these tomatoes finished before the sun gets too high. Do you want me to grab that extra bag of mulch for you?
Oh, so I'm showing her that I'm still the same helpful neighbor James, I'm just not banker James.
Exactly. You are demonstrating that your no to the money wasn't a no to the friendship. This is the highest level of English clarity, managing the emotional subtext while keeping the verbal message simple.
I like that. Managing the subtext. That sounds like something a diplomat would do.
Well, as we often discuss in our sessions on behavioral patterns in professional diplomacy, everyone is a diplomat in their own life. Now, James, let's do a quick review of the target vocabulary we've used in this scenario. I want to make sure the listeners can hear them in a natural sentence.
Okay, I'll try to use a few of them right now. I was really put on the spot when my neighbor asked for a loan. I'm a bit strapped for cash myself, but even if I wasn't, I've realized I need to have a hard and fast rule about this. I don't want to set a precedent where people think I'm a lender.
Brilliant. You hit 4 of them in one go. Let's look at set a precedent for a second. In English, a precedent is an earlier event or action that is used as an example for future circumstances. If you give Sarah that money, you are essentially telling the universe and your neighborhood that you are open for business.
And I definitely don't want that sign hanging over my garden plot.
Definitely not. Now, for our listeners who are at the B1 level, remember, it is okay to feel uncomfortable. The goal of the English Clarity Lab isn't to make the situation disappear, it's to give you the tools to walk through it with your dignity intact.
Yeah, because the alternative is, well, it's resentment. If I give her the money and she doesn't pay me back, I'm going to be angry every time I see her car.
And that's the dark psychology of the situation. Unspoken resentment is the silent killer of friendships. By being clear now, you're actually protecting the friendship for the future. You're keeping things separate so they don't get messy later.
Wow, so saying no is actually kind.
In the long run, yes. It's the kindest thing you can do for a relationship you value.
You know, Mary, it's really interesting that you call it kind. Most people, especially when they're learning English as a second language, feel like being direct is the opposite of being kind. They feel like they're being mean or cold.
And that is the biggest hurdle for our B1 and B2 learners. In many cultures, no is a heavy word. But in professional English diplomacy, which is what we focus on here at the English Clarity Lab, a clear no is actually a form of respect. It means you respect the other person enough not to lie to them or give them false hope.
False hope. Yeah, like saying, let me check my bank account and get back to you when I already know I'm not going to do it. That just makes the next time we see each other even more awkward.
Exactly. Then you're not just neighbors sharing a garden plot, you're a debtor and a creditor, playing a game of hide and seek. So let's do one final gold standard run-through of our potting shed scenario using the thousands protocol logic. James, I'm Sarah. I've just asked for the $200. You've had your 2-second pause. Go.
Sarah, I'm really sorry to hear about your car battery. That's a huge stress, especially on a weekend. However, I've actually made it a hard and fast rule for myself to keep my finances and my personal relationships separate. I found it just makes things a lot cleaner for everyone involved. I'm not in a position to lend the cash, but if you need to borrow my bike to get to the auto shop, or if you want me to stay here and keep an eye on your seedlings while you sort it out, I'm happy to help.
James, that was... wow! You didn't just draw a line in the sand, you built a very polite, very sturdy fence. You used the buffer, sorry about the car, the boundary, personal rule, and the helpful pivot, offering the bike or the help with the plants.
It felt surprisingly okay. By offering the bike, I felt like I wasn't rejecting her, I was just rejecting the request.
And that is the key distinction. We aren't rejecting the person, we are rejecting the transaction. Now, let's look at why you didn't say I'm strapped for cash in that final version.
Right, because if I say I'm broke, it sounds like I would give her the money if I had it. It makes it about the money, not the relationship.
Exactly. And as the analytical guide here, I want to point out that when you use a policy instead of an excuse, you take all the power back. It's not a negotiation anymore. It's just a fact of who James is.
I like that. Policy James. He's a lot more confident than worried James.
We all prefer policy, James. Before we wrap up today's episode of the English Clarity Lab, let's quickly recap our target vocabulary for the listeners who are taking notes.
I'll start. To be strapped for cash. To have very little money available right now.
To set a precedent. To do something that becomes an example or a rule for the future.
To keep things separate. To make sure two areas of life, like money and friends, don't mix.
To draw a line in the sand. To create a firm, unchangeable limit.
To put someone on the spot. To force a quick decision in an awkward moment.
A hard and fast rule. A strict policy you never break.
Excellent. Use these phrases, practice your 2-second pause, and remember, clarity is the highest form of politeness. You are not being rude, you are being clear.
And clear is what we do best. Thanks for joining us in the lab today. I'm gonna go, wash the dirt off my hands.
And to our listeners, we'll see you in the next episode for more high-stakes English. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.